Many years ago, I came across a few lines in a book that I connected with. They were, "It's easy to judge, but you never know another person's heart, what gives them strength and what breaks them down. I have learned to listen more and speak less. The result has been eye-opening conversations and inspirational moments that I have shared with you right here." Welcome back to Crystal.
This is actually weird for me.
Because you was asking the question.
This is, I think, the first time in a long... Actually, I've never been interviewed.
What?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been interviewed.
Well, I'm excited because today I am interviewing someone for the very first time on camera. She interviews other people all the time. Welcome to Crystal One-on-One. We're on set at Le Chateau, Brasserie Belge. And today I have TV presenter, MC, Sheila Saltofte. Sheila Saltofte.
Sheila Saltofte, yeah.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited. I don't know. I'm also
We're like all
scared.
smiles today. Why would you be scared?
I have seen people breaking down on this show. I'm like, okay, let's get to this.
Welcome to the show. It's nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Yeah. How are you doing?
I am great. I'm late. Came late on the show. Being a mother and an independent woman and single, it's a lot.
It's a juggling
It's a lot.
act.
It's a lot of work, especially in Uganda. Yeah, so figuring it all out, you get there. It's like a learning process. Every day is something new. So you can't really like have something planned all the time. Just have to juggle with it.
Something comes along and then you plan accordingly. And something new comes. Because I know that you have been on like it feels like a ton of different shows. You've been on this show and that show. And you've been pretty much on TV since you were like 13.
Yes.
Is that about 14 years?
We're putting our ages out there.
Wow.
Well,
that's a long time for someone who's only in their 20s.
It is a long time. I think like I've been on TV for what, 15 years now? And it's been great. I remember, I feel like it was 15 years ago. I can't believe it, but I made it. I'm still here. I'm still doing it. And it's been fun. It's been a great ride.
It's been a great ride.
Yeah.
Okay. So where did you grow up?
So I was born and raised in Denmark.
Okay.
And
your dad is?
Yeah, my dad is Danish. My mother is Ugandan. Born in Copenhagen, 1992. Yes, I'm not embarrassed. And I was moved to Uganda when I was 10 years old, straight away to boarding school.
What?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I like completely did not know any English.
Was your mom here?
No, it was my grandmother.
Wow. So your parents were still back in Denmark?
Yes.
And they sent you here?
Yes, straight to boarding school.
Is there a reason? Was they...
Well, my mother and dad did not go along together. Okay. And it's a story I don't know if I'm ready to talk about with my dad, but we never really like knew each other till like recent. Okay. So she kind of like was a single mother too, had 2 jobs, day and night, and she was raising me and her little brother, who I thought was like an uncle, like a brother of mine, but it was like an uncle.
Okay.
And so we grew up together, and I think she kind of like saw it was too much for her. And by then the social system was kind of like complaining about it. You know, you can't be leaving your child alone with a teenager, and you know. So she kind of like had to figure it all out and see how to make ends meet with her life and also taking care of me. So she thought it was much easier to bring me here in Uganda in boarding school, and having been to be taken care of by my grandmother. So during holidays, I would always be at my grandmother's, and then boarding school.
That makes sense. I mean, a very real fear is having your child taken away from you.
True.
Which could happen.
Which could happen. It almost did, and I think she made the best decision at that time.
Okay. Have you met your grandmother before?
Yes, I had. I used to visit Uganda. When I was young, I'd visit like 3 times before I moved completely. So I was really in love with it, and I loved my grandmother very much. And yeah, and you know, being a single child too, being put in boarding school, it was quite an exciting journey.
Was it?
Because I was lonely most of the time at home.
Yeah,
Pretty much like just watching movies or trying to go outside
and
to go
if
play.
you're with a teenager, they don't normally have that
Yeah,
much time
he
for
didn't
you.
really like me. He didn't really like me. I took a lot of his space and like, I don't know, his like time of having to take care of me. So he wanted to also like enjoy his youth while I was there just nagging around. Yeah. So I think he was happy too when I moved away.
Okay.
But yeah.
So which boarding school? Because it came straight into boarding school. So you arrived, met your grandmother.
Met my grandmother, had like a 3-month holiday because the system is different. So Uganda school starts in January, February, around there. So I joined Taiba International School.
Okay.
But then it was Taiba Junior. So now I think they combined all the primary and the secondary together. So yeah, I've been there since 2001.
Okay.
That's when I came to Uganda. And so I joined 2002 February.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Taiba,
Yeah.
was it a culture shock or you were just...
Well, it was sort of like different cultures there.
Okay.
And the principal was from UK.
Okay.
So he was like my mentor. He's the one that taught me English. He was amazing. He taught me so much. And he was more of like also a guardian for me in the school.
Yes.
So like, because it's quite like different, because when you start seeing different kinds of like meals and schedules, I don't know, like it's completely different from the Danish side. And then also when you don't know English, so it's scary.
Wow.
Getting to
Yes.
a new system of only English and a little bit of Luganda on the side, and also Tanzanian. So I thank God I had some other students that were there that were from Denmark, but they were Ugandans. So they kind of like
they helped you.
helped me through. And the principal would also like take me around into the city. Like he was allowed to do that for my parents' you know, acceptance. He would like show me around, explain different things to me. Certain meals I was like specially allowed to go and like eat from his like place and stuff like that. Certain students, it was more of like an expat little community that we had.
Okay.
And I don't know if that was like special treatment, but it helped us through the process.
Yes.
And it wasn't
helped
for
you
like,
adjust.
yeah, it helped us adjust, and it wasn't like every day we were gonna do this. It was like just like for the first year around of the class, something like that.
So Taiba Junior at the time, and then you sat the national.
Then I did the secondary to Taiba.
Okay.
But I did my A levels at Kamboja International.
Okay.
I think I got tired
of Taiba.
I needed, you know, all the teachers knew me from, so it's kind of stressful there. So many expectations. Don't even know.
There's nothing wrong with expectations.
Yeah, but you know, you kind of want to relax after a while, like, because when I was in school, I ended up like being like a leader.
Okay.
So I'd join like the Senate body. I was like an entertainment prefect. I was a head girl. I was what? So they kind of expect you to always be the well-behaved one, but I'm like, I kind of want to let go. This is my final year in high school. I want to be the bad person now, but I couldn't be that there. And I guess I got bored with my environment. I needed like some adjustment, something also more challenging, meet different kinds of more people and teachers, because also teachers start getting used to you, and you started like not getting challenged about your studies and whatnot. So also when I was Cambridge is also quite a big deal, and it just started in Taiba.
Okay.
So I wasn't 100% sure if I was going to pass there.
Okay.
But I do believe in your education system. It's amazing now, I believe.
She's just covering the bases.
Yes. I'm
No,
telling
but at
you.
that time, I mean, it's understandable.
At that time, you just want to focus on which school is the best to really focus on your studies, because this is A levels, and yeah, so I decided to go to Kamboja International, and it was close to where I was living in Myenga. So I kind of like took care of myself, by the way, having my parents also in Denmark, and my grandmother
still
here.
In Denmark.
Yes, I decided to start living alone. So I became a day scholar for my A levels. So I started
How
taking
old
care of
were you?
myself. Yeah. I just turned 18. So
You started living alone at 18?
actually 14.
14?
Yes. At 14 years old, I started living alone because I told my my grandmother used to travel a lot.
Okay.
So I told my mother that, you know, I'm tired of like going to my cousins' houses every holiday. It's stressful always moving with one suitcase. Like my closet was in one suitcase. So boarding school, you know, relative's house. Boarding school, relative's house.
But I'm still trying to understand, how did it work at 14?
So my mother, I told her, let me find a place and a house or apartment. So I found a house. I've lived in Mianga for about 15 years.
Okay.
Or 16. And so I told her that let me just help me pay for the rent. I get a maid, send me an allowance per month, stuff like that. So yeah, I started taking care of myself at a very young age, at 14. So the maid would cook, clean, and all I
She
needed
wasn't
was...
a live-in?
She was a live-in.
Okay.
She was a live-in, so I would stay with her, of course.
Okay.
And so yeah, I would see her every after 3 months. On the weekends, sometimes I'm allowed to get away from school, that Taiba, that was acceptable. But yeah, so holidays, I'll stay there. All I needed was DSTV, food, pocket money to probably go watch a movie with a couple of friends. I kind of like curfewed myself.
Okay.
And my mother handled it too over the phone. Like, so, what are you up to now? Are you home?
So you weren't going back? She wasn't visiting?
No, she was visiting once in a while. Once in a while. I'll see her probably like after a year or two. I think like we just got after a certain time, she started staying here in Uganda for a long time. She ended up getting a good business for herself. And that's when we started like living together. But then she had to, I think the business failed because she was dealing in secondhand electronics. And the Ugandan government kind of did not accept that after a while because, you know, they're getting damaged in houses and whatnot. But she was getting them from Denmark.
Okay.
So they were original secondhand electronics.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, other businesses were kind of like messing that around. And she had to stop that business and she had to head back.
Okay.
To continue taking care of me through, you know, education and everything.
All right.
Yeah.
So how did you start working on TV at 13?
So that was a time when she was staying with me, because she was living with me during primary.
Okay.
So it was until I started high school, that's when she moved back. So I was 13 years old. I just finished my P7. I was in my vac, and that's like the longest vacation I've ever had. And I've been watching TV, Teens Club, since I came to Uganda. I was like, this is the most interesting show. I was watching this guy called Bobby, who's actually in Uganda. When I met him, I was like, oh my God, you don't even know. You're right, I'm such a huge fan. Anyway, so I was watching him and Flavia and Cats on TV, and I was like, Mom, I really want to be on this show. I feel like I can do so much better. Like, I want to get a job. I'm bored at home. And she's just like, okay, fine. Let me try. So my mom, for some reason, was a bit famous in her ways. I think her party ways. I don't know. There's something about being a foreigner and you're in Uganda, you kind of become famous. So she knew Elvis, and Kavuma is also like a relative of mine. So he kind of like hooked her up with Elvis, and Elvis gave me like an interview at WBS.
Okay.
So it was like a line of people. I wasn't alone. There was like about 15 others, you know, people, teenagers that were lining up for the job. And I went there on a Saturday. I was so dressed up, makeup, hair, everything. Like I was like so nervous. I got dropped by my mom, and then I went for the interview, and straight away they just asked me to say certain this, like the show is sponsored by Fanta, and I think I kind of juggled up with the words because I was so nervous.
Yeah.
But it was just like the confidence that I had. They kind of enjoyed it, and I guess my look, like this is something different, and yeah. So then they told me to come back next Saturday, and from then on I've always been on TV. Just kept coming.
Different shows.
Different shows.
Different shows. Okay. Were you being paid?
I was being paid.
You were.
But I've never been so paid so cheap. And I did not care. Because I was just there for the fun of it. I was there for the fame too. It was exciting, and pretty much what I was getting paid for was my transport.
Okay.
I like there was no labor payment like WBS. You guys, but it's okay.
Well,
You did us justice.
It was the starting point.
It was a starting point.
So how long were you in Teens Club?
From 13 till I was 18.
Wow. Okay, that's
Yeah.
a big chunk.
Yeah.
A big chunk. So that was every Saturday or mostly
It was
on the
every
holidays?
Saturday. So of course I had weekends for during my secondary school. From senior 1 to senior 4, I was doing weekends also, but not all the time. Just when like I was able to leave to go home. But yeah, I mean like after a while you just want to do it only during holidays. So to just focus more on like studying and whatnot. So yeah.
Okay. Did you ever feel like there was something else you wanted to do? Or did you know that, you know, TV was like in your blood?
It wasn't really. It wasn't really like just because I went for that job. I didn't even know I was good at it, but I wanted to be something else. I actually remember that. Well, first I wanted to be a dancer, like a backup dancer, because I'm from Europe, so that was a mentality I had. Then I wanted to be a lawyer. I actually really had passion in that, and because I'm just so good at arguing with people. Like I'm always want to be in the right. So that was something I really wanted to do. I wanted to be a lawyer, and I guess I just got distracted by it after some time with being too much on TV. I was like, wait a minute, I'm doing really good at this, and this could actually be a thing for me.
Okay.
So I guess with that kind of way, I kind of lost more focus on what I wanted to be, and just go with the flow.
Okay.
But then still at the same time do good with my grades, just in case. Yeah.
It's about us, because for many people who are doing TV or working as well,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes one suffers at the expense of the other.
Exactly.
So 18.
18.
Teens Club.
Teens Club.
And then?
And then after that, I took a 2-year break, which was a very bad thing. No, 2-year break was like because I was doing my A-levels.
Okay.
So I was focusing on that. So when
Was
I
this
finished
a
my
discussion
A-levels,
that you had with your mom?
yes. No, actually, I decided it. I just told her, listen, I'm just tired of Teens Club. It's 10,000.
Oh, but this is a long time. That's
Yeah,
like
you
your
know?
whole teen years.
And I think like now I just want to focus on being a teenager, a regular student. I want to focus on my A-levels, finish with that, and then we can see where to go from there.
Okay.
So I finished my A-levels, and after that, I had a long 1-year gap of having partying and whatnot, and that's when I guess kind of got linked up, got a baby. I was like, all right, university, here I come.
So
But
you were about 19 when you were
I was
pregnant.
21.
You were 21?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I had a gap, that's when like I had a huge gap year. So I was pregnant when I was 20.
Okay.
But I gave birth at 21.
Okay.
So 21, I'm pregnant, and just finished, you know, A-levels, having that gap year. And that's when like everything changed. Everything changed.
Take
So
me through the moment you found out you were pregnant.
this is a funny part. Oh my God. So I was in Kenya. So I went to visit my friend. She was in university, the USIU. So it was exciting. So I went there for the weekend, and I was just like, you know, we're partying Friday night. So I wake up, I have this like interesting eye infection.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, something is wrong. So she takes me to Aga Khan Hospital. The doctor sees me and says, when was the last time you had your period? I was like, what do you mean? What does it have to do with my eye? It's like, so pregnant women at an early stage, you should get very, the allergies come up, like the dust and whatnot. So this is very common. I was like, you were serious? Like, so then I thought about it. I've been partying so much that I didn't realize that my period was, I hadn't had it for about a month? I missed a month. So I was like, oh God, please, I'm not pregnant, right? So he tests me and then I'm pregnant. And I'm like, eh.
And you're in Nairobi.
I'm in Nairobi.
With your friend who's probably freaking out too.
So I decided to go back to Uganda and tell the father of the child.
Okay.
And he's like, so you're back from Nairobi and now you're pregnant. And he was like also like in shock. Like, I was like, okay, fine. Well, he was like, it was bound to happen. And it's not like I was in a serious relationship with the father of my child. We, like I say, I was having a gap here. I was just having a good time. But I was in a relationship with him, but we knew it was going to end. It was just like a phase, sort of. So when I told him, he was like, oh my God, okay, so what do you want to do? It's all your decision. I'm supportive. And I was like, okay.
What am I going to
do? You're asking a 21-year-old, what are you going to do? So I was freaking out at the same time. I hadn't told my mom or anybody in my family. I just, but for some reason, I went to church.
Okay.
So I went to KPC. I'm not even that much of a spiritual person, but I went to church. I just felt like I needed to, and I prayed on it. And for some reason, the answer was to keep it. And I kept it. It was a very hard decision. And after that, I spent 5 months hiding the pregnancy from my family. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did that work?
Yeah, it was just
So
easy.
your grandmother?
Well, first of all, remember I was staying alone.
Yes.
So I would have her visit me like once a month or something like that. And I also didn't have a job at the same time, so I was being taken care of by the father of my child, antenatal care and everything. And still getting some money from my mom for food and rent and whatnot. So that was being taken care of. And then it wasn't until the 5th month, and that's when you can notice.
Yes.
And they kind of like try to pull a trick on me, like, hey, you know what? Maybe we should like go for this, like, wanna like do a general checkup on you since you're coming to Denmark. And I was like, you guys know it. Let's just not hide it. Let's sit down and let's talk about it. And it wasn't so easy at all. It wasn't easy. My family did not take it, especially my mother. She was broken. She wanted me to have an abortion.
Wow. And
I was like, listen, I'm 5 months pregnant. That's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. I am not doing this. And my grandmother tried to insist on it, and I felt like, okay,
your grandmother too?
Yes.
Wow.
She's like, listen, because you see, I totally understand where they come from with this. Because my mother was pregnant for me when she was 14. And my grandmother was pregnant for her when she was 13. My grandma has like 5 children, but she was the firstborn. So I totally understand where they come from, being single women, independent, and how it's not been easy for them. So I understood that. But being 21, I told them, listen, I am past that level of making a mistake. I think if I do this, you're making me make a mistake for you. It's not my mistake, it's your mistake, and I'm going to regret it. So I kind of ran away for 2 months and slept over at a friend's place.
Wow.
And
that must have been a tough time.
It was a tough time. But I was still talking to them. But it wasn't easy at all. So I just needed like an environment, a supportive environment. So I was staying with my best friend. She was in university too, so she had her own apartment. I was taking care of half of the rent, and so I was just like being happy with my pregnancy. I was not embarrassed about it at all, just like, moving around, just doing my thing.
We hung out at that point.
Yeah, we hung out at that point.
Yes.
It was great. And people's worrying faces, like, oh my God, she looks like, because I actually look very young for my age.
Yes.
So people are like, she's 16, she's 18, what? Like even you thought I was 19.
I thought you were 19.
Yeah.
So you were like, what, 8 months pregnant there? About
yes,
7?
8 months pregnant.
Yeah.
So she came back from Denmark and she was like, let me be here for you. definitely decided to take this decision. And now we're past ever turning back. So I showed, and this is a stepping point where I had to prove that I was an adult.
Yes.
And what I made, I was going to take up the responsibility and show them that they don't, I wasn't just going to give birth and like, you know,
And hand over your child.
Yeah. So I was organized. I had like the hospital where I wanted to give birth. You know, I had my clothes. I had a baby shower. I organized all that stuff for myself. And I did shopping for the bed and everything. So I had everything planned. All I wanted them to do was just be there and supportive. So I gave birth. And it was the most interesting experience ever. Most interesting.
Why?
Because I was supposed to give birth 2 weeks. You know, I was 2 weeks late.
Oh. Okay.
So I went to the hospital. It was at IHK, and it was on Valentine's Day. So my mom had even gone on a date. So it was just like me and my grandmother and my best friend. But even her, she was just like coming from home. So my best friend was the one who was staying there with me at the hospital. And that's when, you know, the contractions are coming through. You're like, hey, oh, okay, this is it. You know, I'm going to have a natural birth. It's happening. And it didn't happen after like 48 hours later. And that's when like things were now, okay, this is the time. But now it was it was a dangerous situation because my baby
like
was
it's a baby
too
in
big.
distress, yeah?
Yes. And so the baby was very big. And I was also getting exhausted from all the little contractions and whatnot, so I had to have an emergency C-section. And I remember that emergency room, my best friend fainted in front of me.
Oh no!
She fainted.
She's supposed to be
support
supporting you.
system fell down, and I was like, "Get that woman out of here!" and then, you know, in the meantime, also, while I was having my contractions in my room, my mom is there with my auntie and my grandmother talking about their Valentine's. Like, hey, this is a guy. This is like, I was like, can you take this conversation somewhere else? Like, I'm trying to have a baby here. I'll just tell you, my family is the most interesting people ever, and I love them so much. So anyway, I gave birth. So in the C-section room, I was like, I just want to be alone. Like after the injection, I kind of managed to sleep for a bit. I hear the baby cry. I'm like, woo! Like, okay, give it to the mother. Let me sleep for 5 hours. And yeah, and then that's when they completely forgot they have a granddaughter and a daughter. Now they're like, we have a great grandson and a grandson. So yeah, they were just all focused on him.
They forgot about you.
They forgot about me. They forgot. Now they're like, this is ours now. We have to take care of this. It's like, fine, but like, you know, I need some loving right now. And yeah, that happened. It was a beautiful experience. They say once a child is in the world, all the problems fade away. And that's exactly what happened. So since then, they have been my backbone. My mom and my grandmother have been my backbone. I have managed to stay home for those first 3 months after delivery, just being with my baby. It was beautiful. And then immediately I got back to work after 3 months. My mom went back to Denmark. My grandmother stayed with me to help out. But she also has her own business, so she travels a lot. She goes a lot to Thailand and China. She has her own business, boutique. So she sells clothes. So I decided to go back to TV.
Okay.
Yeah, I was
Where
still
did you
breastfeeding.
go?
That was 3 months after giving birth. That was, when I was like 21, I went to Urban TV. So I went to Bush Baby. By then he had just started working at Urban.
At Urban,
So I had a concept of a show, and that was called Backstage Pass. So the whole point was to like get the behind the scenes
of events,
and red carpets and experiences of different sorts of places. And so I went up to him, I gave him the concept, and he loved it. He asked me, what would you call it? I was like, it's like Backstage Pass. And then he asked me, who would you want to present with, because it's like a lot of work for you. And I thought of Denzel, because Denzel and I were friends even before TV. And so